Welcome to the Grieve with Christa Podcast. Today we have a profound conversation with Henry Cameron Allen. He's an award-winning author and grief practitioner whose life work grew from personal loss. Together we explore a powerful idea that grief is not something we recover from, but a force that transforms us. Henry shares his journey through the loss of his son and the wisdom that grief can reveal when we're willing to face it. We talk about what happens after loss, how we can continue our connection with those we love, and how grief can align our head and our heart and our spirit. This conversation invites us to see grief differently, not as something to fix, but as something that can shape us, who we're becoming. Stay with us as we explore how grief, when honored, can become a path to growth. I'm beyond grateful and honored to have you on this and to talk about your journey because it's a harsh one, your journey. So I'm so excited for you to speak and I want to hear your story and so does everybody. So thank you for being here, Henry.
Oh, thank you, Christa. It's, since that interview with you and Ira, I have felt like you have, like there's somebody else. It's not just me. I'm not nuts, and this calling to change the lexicon, change the way we talk about grief, right? I think it's time. And those of us who are on that frequency are coming together to amplify that voice and to say, you know what? Loss, death, bereavement, gone, those are all misnomers. To validate, though, at the same time, yes, we have all felt those feelings, but feelings are not real. Thoughts are not real either, right? But your gut is real 100% of the time. What does your gut tell you, right? When you get those signs, you get those feelings and senses beyond our feelings. Our gut tells us true, that exactly as you say, death is an illusion.
But people ignore that gut, right?
Well, they don't know how to access the gut. And in the work that I've been doing over the past almost 20 years, I've now developed a therapy that I call deep organ therapy. And it's a process that has worked 100% of the time to access the gut. And it's a process. You have to start with the thinking. Yeah. Right. What do I think about this situation? What do I think about death? What do I think about loss? What do I think about all of these things? Right. And lean into the answers, lean into the inner saboteur voice because they demand to be heard. And once you've formed your thought, then you bring it down into your heart center. Right. We've known since the 1700s that the heart and the gut both contain neuroglial cells, brain cells. Wow. And yet we've separated them out. We've chopped them off, the head, the heart, and the gut, when they're actually
That's fascinating. Yeah.
One single system. It's almost like they're the same organ with three different functions, right? They're not the same organ, but they are one system, right? And they have to connect to one another. We have to remember that we are a singular system. We have a lot going on. Human beings are very complex animals. And if we start treating our head, our heart, and our gut as a single system, then we start to understand that once we form a thought, we can drop it down into our heart and engage with, how do I feel, not about the situation, but what do I feel about what I think?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Is my heart in alignment with my brain?
Yeah.
Right? If you agree with what you think, if you think that what you think is cool and right and good, no problem. But if you don't feel connected to that thought, then you got to go back up to your head and start the process of reprogramming, right? Rewiring your brain. And then check in with your heart again. I like the image of warm honey that somebody is pouring over the top of your head, and it coats your brain, it covers your brain, right? It takes a long time because honey is thick, but it's warm and it's comfortable and it feels good to just sort of, let it flow all around your brain. And then once you've formed your thought, it drops down and coats your heart. The honey coats your heart. And you're able to check in. Once your brain and your heart are in alignment, only then can that honey drip down to your gut. Mm. And what does the gut represent? It represents your instinct, your intuition. Mm. Right?
Yeah.
We often go right for the gut and, what's my intuition? What's my instinct about this? And that's for those of us that have been diagnosed with PTSD or CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. To go right to your gut means that it's that fight or flight instinct, right?
Yeah.
But without processing the thoughts and the feelings about your thoughts, your gut doesn't know what to do. The gut, physiologically, it's designed to separate the waste from what is nutrition for the body and for the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you're in alignment with your head and your heart, then your gut gets to separate out. I don't need this. I can eliminate it so that I can focus on healing. I can focus on grief is not something that can ever be healed from, but the process of it is in and of itself a healing process.
Yeah.
And so that just contextually is where I come from with that. And what you don't need, you can release. Right?
I love that. And when my stepdad passed initially, you're making me think about this. My head and my heart was not connected. I was so disconnected. And, at that moment, it was just me and him. So the death, I saw the whole process was there and I wasn't connected. So I really do love that because that's what I was working on. And, the first 6-7 months was so hard till I really started with GLAD and started doing things like, I feel like in his honor. But I was disconnected. So I really love how you describe that.
I want to read you something my mom sent me. My mom is a widow as of a couple of years ago. And yesterday was National Widows Day, right? And I have clients in my practice that are not just what I call peregrines, but they're also widows or orphans. And they're dealing with death in that way. But you've heard of Donna Ashworth, right?
Yes.
She's a coach,
yes,
and a positive, mindset.
Yes.
So this is what my mom sent to me, that someone sent to her. And I want you to pay attention to how many times the word lose, lost, gone appear in this little short passage. You don't just lose someone once. You lose them over and over, sometimes many times a day. When the loss, momentarily forgotten, creeps up and attacks you from behind. Fresh waves of grief as the realization hits home. They are gone again. You don't just lose someone once. You lose them every time you open your eyes to a new dawn. And as you awaken, so does your memory. So does the jolting bolt of lightning that rips into your heart. They are gone again. Losing someone is a journey, not a one-off. There is no end to the loss. There is only a learned skill on how to stay afloat when it washes over. Be kind to those who are sailing this stormy sea. They have a journey ahead of them and a daily shock to the system each time they realize they are gone again and again. You don't just lose someone once. You lose them every single day for a lifetime. Donna Ashworth. I counted, and there are no less than 18 references in that short little paragraph.
I know. I was like, Henry doesn't like this poem.
I like this. Why? Because, my loved ones, including my son, my father, my grandparents, beloved pets, they're not lost. They're not a pair of sunglasses or a set of keys or a favorite scarf. I know precisely where they are at all times. I don't lose anything. And when people say, I'm sorry for your loss, or somebody says, oh, I lost my blankety blank, my first instinct is to say, oh, I'm so sorry. Where did you lose them? Can I help you find them again? Because that's the point, is that we didn't lose them. That what made them cannot be created. It cannot be destroyed. It just changes its form. And what we have the capacity to do, both as receivers and transmitters, is to tap into that frequency that they are now, that they weren't when they were in the physical.
Yeah.
Right? I see it as kind of the cosmic radio. You are the cosmic radio. Imagine yourself as a cosmic radio. You're the only one who can plug yourself in to the juice. Right?
Yeah, I love it.
But it's still turned off. You have to flip the switch, right? So you flip the switch, you turn it on, and all you hear is static. We've all been there when we've turned on our receiver, right? All we hear is static. Then what do? And of course, we are old school, not old. We turn the dial, right? We start turning the dial. Sometimes it's a really subtle movement to turn that dial. But once it lands on a frequency that you resonate with, you resonate with it. Yeah. And you start jamming, you start moving your body. Oh, I love this song. Oh, I haven't heard this song since I was 16. You know, maybe it's a particular channel that you stay on most of the time because it's the songs, the music of your life, 60s, 70s, and 80s, right? Or it could be a talk show, a news, NPR or whatever.
Yeah.
And you hang out there and you listen to what they're talking about because it's something that you resonate with, right? It's a perspective that you resonate with. Then you turn the dial again. Oh, it's all share all day, right? And you're going to jam out share all day long and celebrate, right? Or maybe the next song isn't quite in your groove. You turn the dial again. And so we are masters. We have that capability of tapping into, much like a radio, the frequency that we resonate with moment to moment.
Yeah.
Right? And that goes for the people who have crossed.
Yep.
Their physical body is no longer working. And there are 3 ways that we usually treat a body after that part of them, their consciousness, their energy, has left the building, right?
Yeah.
1 is burial.
Yeah.
Right? We put them in the ground. When my son Cameron was about 2.5 or so, we were driving by a big graveyard in Minneapolis. That's where we lived. And he pointed at it and he said, "Papa, what's that?" How do you explain a graveyard to a 2-year-old? Cemetery, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing that came to my mind was, "Oh, honey, that's a people garden." Sometimes when our bodies stop working, we plant them in the earth like seeds and they become part of everything.
Yeah.
Every blade of grass, every flower, every tree.
I never heard that, Henry. A people garden. Gotta give me a minute.
People garden, right? Because you know what? It is.
It is. No, it is. That's funny. Okay. It's funny, not,
He got it.
Yeah.
Right? He totally understood at 2.5.
Wow.
Another way that we treat bodies after they've crossed is we put them in a mausoleum above ground, right? The wall of drawers, where they're up above the earth. So they're not being planted in the earth. They don't start that process of breaking down and becoming part of the earth and everything around. What happens is a different kind of physiological process where it's broken down, but in gases and in minerals, right? That actually become part of the stone structure that is encasing them. And then it's released out into the air. So it's in the air that we breathe, right? The 3rd is cremation, right? And in that moment of cremation, what happens is a thermodynamic process where instantly all of the energy that was comprised in that body and was ever comprised in that body, I would contend, including the consciousness, forms an electromagnetic sphere that starts expanding outward in all directions at the speed of light. This is the first law of thermodynamics. All the stuff I'm talking about here is science. Yeah. It's not woo-woo. It's
science.
Right? So if you're a person of faith, if you're a person of proof, scientific proof, right? This fits for everybody, right? My son Cameron was cremated in 2008. he passed from brain cancer, which he got at age 11. He was diagnosed, and he lived with it 2 years. And when he was cremated, that sphere of light was birthed into the universe in a way that we can, it's hard to comprehend, but it's actually a thing, that it starts expanding at the speed of light, right? That's traceable, that's trackable. And I've actually invented a way to track. If you can put in your loved one's name, the date that they were cremated, I can tell you where the outer rim of that sphere of light that they are now, where it is in the universe. I can tell you precisely what star system they're passing through and what planet they're touching. And it's pretty out there, kind of amazing. So we have the speed of light, which is cremation. We have the speed of life, which is burial, right? We have this other sort of mineralization and outgassing process, which is for burial above ground or mausoleum. And then there's a newer type of cremation called water cremation, where the body is broken down with water, and then they become part of the water system of the planet, right? Because they're returned back to the rivers and the streams and the oceans and everything. All four are beautiful to think about. They're beautiful to imagine. All four of them include a journey. When someone's buried in the earth, you can actually go to their burial place and you can put your hands on the earth or touch the trees or the flowers, and you're actually touching your loved one. Because there are markers in our body that we can recognize, unique to the person, that will show up in the plant life and in the very dirt itself. Those markers are there. It's a real thing. Right?
I believe that. Yeah.
That brought me so much comfort. I can't even tell you, to know that my grandparents, who were buried in the earth, I can go to their gravesite and I can put my hands on the earth and I can touch them, literally. Yeah. I can tell you where my son Cameron, where what I call the luminous horizon, which is the outer edge of that sphere that is still expanding and will forever expand. I can tell you precisely where he is. I can go outside and I can use a stargazing app and I can look for the constellation that he's passing through right now, and I can see him. Yeah. I can feel him. I can imagine him there. Yeah. Right? Every time I drink a bottle of mineral water, I know that I've got ancestors that are part of that.
I love that, right, Henry? Like people, but in my experience of helping people, right, it's either you go to heaven, you hell, right? They don't think like this. You know, years ago when I got my death doula, because I tell people death is the only thing guaranteed. How do you want to go out, right? I told my boys I'll get cremated and turned into a diamond, right? So it's the only thing guaranteed. I know we could laugh about it, but it is important when you leave this world, how you leave this world. How do you want to go out? But I always get heaven and hell, right? Because there's been Ghostbusters. I get thousands of people that are scared, right? Oh, something scared me. The house is haunted. And I'm like, because that side is not dead. It's alive. It's more alive. And that's why I say how you live is how you die, you know? What do you say to people that say heaven or hell? Where does my loved one go?
Well, it just so happens that I am twice ordained as an interfaith clergy person. And so I hold that as real. It's as real for them as the science. And I use the science as a bridge, because they're really not that different, what we're talking about. I think that when we think about hell, I asked Cameron, my son, about, I don't know, maybe 7 months or so before he crossed. It came up in a conversation. We were having a Vietnamese food at our favorite restaurant in Minneapolis. And the concept of heaven and hell came up. And I said, what do you think about all that, honey? And I knew he was expiring. I knew he was on his way out. And so I was curious what a 12-year-old at that time thought about this. He said, well, Papa, I don't think there are places you go after you die. It's the life that you choose to live while you're here. I said, that's interesting. What do you mean? Like who do you know that lives a heavenly life? Well, we do, Papa. Here's a boy who's a got brain cancer. He's about to expire. He's had 30 pills a day and chemo, radiation, all of that entails. And he thinks we live a heavenly life, right? Because we had the security and love in our home. We had our friends, circle of friends and community. We had our beautiful pets, right? We didn't want for anything. And so that was a heavenly life. That feeling of gratitude that he carried, that's heaven. We're already here, guys. And I said, well, what do you think of people who live a hellish life? Who do you think lives a hellish life? And he said, Grandpa. My father, rest his soul, bless his heart. My dad was a great guy, charming, smart, funny. But when we went down to visit them, he was in front of his computer the whole time. He wouldn't play with Cameron. He was always whining, complaining about something or other, right? The whole world owed him a favor, right? Owed him something, right? He was a resentful, regretful person. He carried a lot of that in himself, and it made him bitter. And it made him sometimes really hard to be around, and it made him really hard to be around himself. And that is the definition of hell to Cameron. And I tend to agree with him. When we return to the everything, and that's what I call God, the all that there is, we don't care. We don't care about heaven and hell because we're part of this everything, right? We return to the one. And every religion, I don't care whether they spew ideas about heaven and hell, every religion validates and affirms that God is one. God is love, God is one. And
I'm you, you're me, we're all one. Yeah.
Every religion in turn says that we are created in God's image, that we are a reflection of the divine. What does that mean? Guess what? It means that we are one. We're part of everything. We're not separate from it. No. We're not separate from the divine. We all carry an aspect of the divine soul in us. We're not separate from nature or here to overlord nature. Nature doesn't need humans. No. We need nature, right? So the perspective and the scale sometimes with a dogma, right, that is trained into you, that is programmed into you from birth, the more you hear something, the more you're apt to believe it. And so what do I say about people who Bible thump or people who say heaven and hell, those are the only choices? I say, here's an opportunity to expand your knowledge. Talk to somebody who doesn't believe like you. Study the science, because we know a lot more than we did in biblical times. There's more information at our fingertips in 2 seconds than there ever has been in history. It's an amazing time to be alive in that sense. And so we have this great opportunity to expand our consciousness, right? You hear every life coach out there saying, you got to get out of your comfort zone. I even saw a t-shirt once that said, your comfort zone will kill you.
I seen that too, yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking,
I seen that too.
Get out of my comfort zone. Why would anybody want to get out of their comfort zone? But what I realized was they're not talking about a comfort zone. They're talking about a cage. They're talking about the cages that we lock ourselves into that prevent us from interacting with or expanding into the world. Your comfort zone is your comfort zone. And it all started with our most ancient ancestors that you can't even imagine, right? The cave people. Even before the cave people. Somebody was sleeping in a thorny bush, right? And they woke up one day with a thorn in their ass and they're thinking, this is not comfortable. And out of their periphery, they saw a cave in the side of the mountain, right? So they very carefully went up there and peeked into the cave just to make sure there were no saber-toothed tigers or rattlesnakes or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So when the coast was clear, they crawled into the cave. No thorns. The floor is a little uneven, and pebbly and a little cold. So I'm going to go and gather animal skins. I'm going to gather plant material, and I'm going to make it more comfortable for myself. So I don't have to be on the cold floor with the pebble, in my ribs.
Yeah.
So they made it comfortable for themselves. Then they brought fire into the cave, which made it warm and not so cold and clammy, right? We build our comfort zones. We know what our comfort zone is. And a comfort zone is not a cave.
Yeah.
A comfort zone is not a cage either, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a comfort zone, the way I see it and the way I teach it, is that a comfort zone is like a womb. It's safe. It's comfortable. You're naked. You're floating around in fluid and you're just protected. And you may hear the sound of your mother's lullaby reverberating through her bones, vibrating through the liquid, right? All through the room. And the womb is stretchy, isn't it? It grows with that little being that is expanding within it, right? Yeah. That's the comfort zone, right? If you can see your comfort zone as a womb that grows with you, then everything you experience, you can make part of your comfort zone, or you can keep it outside. I don't want a part of that.
Yeah.
Right? We have that capacity.
For sure.
Did I answer your question?
Oh my God, Henry. I know you made me all emotional. I'm like, because it's like, it's the reason what you said, that's what I think hit. And it just hit so deep because the book that I wrote, I've been writing it for 15 plus years. And people think like I'm like a love story writer. No, a lot of people, it hit home because it's like what Cameron said. And I keep saying that how you live is how you die, right? Like when you can't see you anymore, that's why houses get haunted. I don't know, right? I'm not here to tell, but just from all the situations and scenes that I've seen, but it's really, the book was written for people to see what Cameron is trying to tell people. And, he is, your grandpa, was in a hell, right? Because we're here, we're free. We get to just choose, why can't we choose love? Why are we killing each other? Why are we, so everything that you said, it just hit why I wrote this book. So I do appreciate you and Cameron, right? Because he's here, he's alive, right? People, they just transition.
And then through me, right? And to take this womb to a different level.
Yeah.
Especially those of us who are peregrines. And I want to explain quickly why that word is what I use to describe myself. There has been, for most of human history, no word to describe outliving a child.
Yeah. Not
in any language. Like widow or orphan. There's no word in any language.
That's true.
And I'm thinking, what? How can that be? It's such a profound and real and relatively common thing throughout human history. We've been outliving our kids since the beginning of humans. Right? So why has there not been a word? And I've heard people say, oh, it's too hard a loss to put words to. And I held that. There was actually a beautiful Native American woman, an elder, who I met not long after Cameron crossed. And it was funny. I took a road trip because I had to get out of town. I was living in Minneapolis. I took a road trip and I ended up at the Grand Canyon because I needed to get my scale back. Yeah. Right. I had been a superhero for 2 years trying to save him.
Yeah.
And I needed to feel small again. And I'm 6'3". That's really hard. So I ended up driving through the night and I saw this light on the horizon. I couldn't tell if it was a star or a gas station, but I made for it. It was that stretch through the desert where there's no civilization, right? Yeah. And they tell you fill up before you go through the desert here. So I arrived at this little enclave and there was a 100-foot tall lamppost. And in the beam of this lamppost, there was a motel, a Zuni trading post, and a post office. Nothing else around for miles and miles, but it had its own zip code. Mm-hmm. And I looked up at the post office, and it was Cameron, Arizona. I'm not joking.
Oh, my God.
get chills.
I know. I was just going to say that. I got chills. But there's no coincidence. This is how they talk to you.
And I slept a few hours in the motel, got up, the trading post was open, and this woman was sitting on her blanket selling jewelry. This is my Cameron, Arizona ring that
I love it.
That she made. It's beautiful opal. And I asked if I could sit with her for a moment and ask her a cultural question. I told her that my son Cameron had just passed away from brain cancer, and I couldn't find any language to describe to others who I was now. And I asked her, is there anything in your language or culture that holds this? Because I'm not finding it in mine. She said, well, perhaps it's too profound a loss to put words to. She said, in my culture, there is no word for it, but your name changes. I would now, from now on, I would call you, for instance, Henry, whose son is gone. That would become your name. When people meet you on the street, oh, it's Henry, whose son is gone. Nice to see you. Or if you go to the store, or if you know, you're not in the room, but people are talking about you. Oh, I saw Henry, whose son is gone the other day. Even when they think about you with your new name, because your name is your identity. And so everyone who meets you, everyone who knows you, everyone who thinks about you is holding you on your grief journey. They're acknowledging that that is now your identity. And I got
chills.
So emotional around it. I still do. And I thought, what a beautiful gesture culturally to hold somebody, to acknowledge as a community, as a world that will not, they say the world's not going to adapt to you. Well, guess what? The world will adapt to you if you create space for it. So they
That's
do.
the truth.
And I was thinking, okay, do I change my name? How do I create something similar for myself? And that's when I hyphenated my name with Cameron's. And I started calling myself Henry Cameron. Why a hyphen? Because it's a link, like in a chain. It bonds us forever. He's never not going to be part of me.
Yep.
And it's also a mathematical equation. It's Henry minus Cameron in the physical sense.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what I did. And people all over the world now call me Henry Cameron or HC.
Oh my God, I love it. And it's so true. It's like the dash, the year that you were born, the year that dash that connects. What is it?
It's a connection, right? It's a connector.
Wow.
So since I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, which I assure you was frightening the first time I got sleep paralysis. I could not wake up. I couldn't break out of a dream. I was in my dream state. I was aware that I was dreaming. I wanted to wake up. I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't wiggle a toe. I was paralyzed in my dream state. I didn't know if I was dead. I didn't know if I was in a coma or having a stroke, right? But the more it happened, and it usually happened on milestone days that I call milestone days, like birthdays, day of passing, holidays, Tuesdays. It could be any time. And the more it happened, the more I realized that, wait a minute, this is my body's way of protecting me from waking triggers. And as soon as I realized that, I started to have these experiences in my lucid dream state that would bring wisdom that I would then bring back across the threshold into my waking state and apply practically in the world. So the first time, a peregrine falcon swooped down out of the sky and landed in front of me. I looked up and it said, "It's time." And I opened my eyes. I knew exactly what it meant.
Yeah.
It's time. We had a word. We had an identifier. Right?
Yeah.
So I just started. It was 3 a.m. I was researching. I was Googling. I was, looking up every reference to peregrine that I could find. And wouldn't you know that in ancient Latin, where it came from, it meant a lost traveler. That's the name of my organization, the Lost Travelers Club. That's what peregrine means. A stranger in a field, a pilgrim on a sacred journey of enlightenment. It ticked all the boxes. So I, through the Lost Travelers Club, now adopted the word peregrine for anyone who has outlived a child or a grandchild, even. Somebody who can identify in that very unique and particular way. The peregrine falcon is native to every continent on the planet except Antarctica. So it's universally recognized as a symbol, and symbolically in every culture somehow, it's come to mean courage, resilience, and strength, which is all the things that we as grieving parents have to learn how to tap into to get on with our lives.
Yeah.
While being on this peregrine road, right? So it worked. It worked. I would love someday to open a dictionary and to see that definition under the word peregrine. But now we have a word.
Yeah.
Right? There are other words that have surfaced. One is viloma. Viloma. It's a beautiful word. Nobody knows what it means. And it's an ancient Sanskrit word that means against nature. I can see where a lot of people, and I've heard it said to me, that, outliving a child is against nature. Is it though? I mean, like I said, children have preceded their parents since the beginning of people. This is nothing new.
No.
So that word, even though it's a beautiful word and some people use it and resonate with it, it did nothing for me.
Yeah.
I needed something more specific, so that now when people come up to me and say, Henry, do you have any kids? I can say, well, I'm a peregrine. And they say, oh, what does that mean? And I can talk about that.
Yeah.
Instead of crowbarring my chest open and putting my most vein out for everybody to try and wrap around. And
I know what you're saying.
I don't have to go into it unless I want to.
Yeah.
And I don't mind talking about it. I don't mind talking, about Cameron and about my journey, because it's been extraordinary and it's led me to the most amazing places. It led me to Glad.
God. Yeah. Yeah.
Led Glad to me.
And it's true what you said in the beginning, because if you don't connect your head and your heart, you're not going to be able to go through this process. And when I've had many losses, but the recent one, right, it's been over a year. I got through the year. But initially I was like, get this feeling off me when he passed. Like, I'm like, what is happening? And I was like fighting for my life. Like I did, went on the jet ski. I'm like, I need to feel alive. And my head and my heart weren't connected until... And that's why it's important through the GLAD program. Not only do we just have, if I'm changing the words lost now because of you, Henry, but, if you have lost a spouse, or I know, but we're in the process of that. But that's why the sound bath meditation and the grieving, because when I just actually stopped and got my nervous system from going from like 0 to 100 every second, because I had a lot of anger. I was just like, where is he? And nobody was helping me. I was like, even though I did this for thousands of people, like I need help and I don't know how to do this, right? So it's just once I got my nervous system connected, your head and your heart, then you're able to get these signs, messages, connect with your loved one. But it does take time, right? There is a process in the beginning.
It can take time.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot faster and a lot easier than people imagine it could be. When somebody says to me, it's hard, I believe them. I would also believe them if they said, it's easy, right?
Yeah.
If somebody says to me, oh, it's going to take a long time, to me, that says they've made that choice, that it's going to take a long time. I don't believe it has to. I think it can really flip that switch, right, of your cosmic radio. In an instant, you've got music, right? So it's all in the perspective, I think like that Donna Ashworth thing, the more we hear something, we're going to believe it. The more we fall into that messaging that sort of spirals us down, holds us in the mourning state, right? One of the things that I found that I wrote about in my book is that mourning and grieving are very, very different. We tend to conflate them. But they're part of the grieving process, of course. But mourning is a temporary and passive state when you are in mourning, there is nothing you can do with it but be it.
Be in it. I love that. Yeah.
And surround yourself, hopefully, God willing, with people who are going to hold the things that you can't for that temporary passive time.
Yeah.
And then at some point in a further along dimension of grief, because there aren't stages of grief that you go through in a linear way, they are dimensions that are all over the place. I've identified 13 of them.
Yeah.
And you reach this dimension, it's a very thin membrane, where you cross from mourning into active grieving. Grieving is active and it's permanent.
Yeah.
And when grief is allowed to be active, it can be channeled into amazing things like GLAAD, like the Lost Travelers Club, like Compassionate Friends, and all these other wonderful grief support organizations.
I got chills.
That have been created in light and in love and honor for those that went on a little ahead. That's how I look at it. A little ahead. They're just a little ahead.
I love that. I got chills. It's true. It's true. I love this. I love this. 8,500 people die a day, and we don't know how to. Nobody. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross gave the 5 stages for the dying patient. It's not for the
1950s.
Yes, but it was for the dying patient, and you know, it wasn't for the grieving person, and that's what GLAAD's created to help people move through this journey. You know, move through the journey and help reconnect on purpose their head and their heart.
That's right.
So that you can connect to your loved one.
We are the inheritors of all that foundational work that people like Kubler-Ross and others did, right?
Yeah.
It's been like, you know what a cairn is, right? It's a stack of sacred stones, right? Yeah. And you keep piling them up, right? And they're balanced on each other. They're aligned. They're balanced. You find that center of gravity through them, right? Incidentally, gravity and grief share the same root. Mm. They're both heavy.
Yeah.
They're both weighty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there are some burdens that we carry with absolute love. And as you're changing loss in your, thing, what just came to me was, why not love?
Love of a love. Okay.
Giving love after death and dying. Right? It's still GLAAD. Just saying. It's right here, right now. Thank you, Cameron. We are building a cairn. We are building a sacred tower, right? And the foundations of that tower come from biblical times. They come from cultures around the world that handle grief differently. They come from Kubler-Ross. They come from all of these people that preceded us. Yeah. And now we're stacking our stones on this tower too, right? Yeah. And we're providing a stronger foundation in grief, grief support for future generations to be talking about what we're doing 100 years from now.
Yes.
Right? One of the things that I really love about GLAAD is that it's breaking stigma. I love that GLAAD is providing the first ever in history 24-hour hotline for grief walkers. Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Why has nobody thought of this before? It's not that, right? Somebody says, oh, it's too hard. No, it's not. Look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christa did it. Right?
And it's really rewarding because people have been calling, and because what I've gotten is their family doesn't want to listen to the death, dying, this grief. Their family friends don't want to listen. And it's not that they don't want to listen. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to be there. And, that's what's in the book too. Sometimes just showing up. Do you need anything? Just showing people that, little things. So you really I'm so grateful for you, Henry. So grateful for this. But this conversation, because this is why I'm doing it, right? I'm old. I don't even like all this podcast and this phone stuff and connect this and connect that. And I'm like, I want to help people and realize, because I've just watched so many thousands of people just not know what to do with their grief, right? And it's love. It's just your love. And we're going to, we turn your pain into purpose and learn to reconnect with your loved one. This episode of Grieve with Christa is brought to you by GLAAD. a community dedicated to supporting grief walkers with connection, tools, and truth. Because grief isn't something to fix, it's something to honor. For more information on GLAAD, click the link in the video description.